everyone, I'm Ritesh Shah, co-founder of Robocart, and I welcome you all to our second episode of Education Matters with none other than Ms. Kinjal Gajera. So before we begin, let me quickly introduce Kinjal ma'am. She has done bachelor's in business administration and management from University of Mumbai. Then she went to Bond University, Australia to do masters in business administration and marketing again. After coming back to India, you have headed CSR activities of Lakshmi Diamonds. So, I mean, we would come to that later. And then you took over education and founded one of the first makerspace, which is Sunita's Makerspace. And then you have also ventured into something which is CSK Ventures. So, I mean, congratulations on so many achievements at some, such young age. And of course, you are an inspiration for, many of us. So, I mean, just, what is the role your role at, Gajera Trust when we speak about education space?
So my role is more around, firstly, hello everyone. And it is really nice, and thank you, Ritesh, for inviting me. My pleasure to have a very meaningful conversation on this platform. My role at Gajera Trust is around bringing new ideas, bringing newer platforms for our students, for our teachers to work with. Education is a very evolving space,
Right.
and we need to constantly learn new things. We need to constantly unlearn the old things which are not doing us much help. And also, we got to keep on repeating this cycle over and over again if we
Right.
want to keep up pace with progress and change.
Right. Great. Of course, I mean, yes, we have to, keep changing things as and when the time asks us to, do some changes. So, I mean, what do you think about, how education have evolved, over the centuries? I mean, we have been, seeing, people getting education from individuals, and now we are into 21st century. So, I mean, what do you think? What has have changed? And I mean, what are your thoughts?
So education earlier used to be Gurukuls. It was only available to the elite at one point of time. Those who could read and write, it was only a very handful. And they were the ones, those who were basically making sure that the communities, I'm talking all over the world, I'm just not talking about particularly India, but
Right.
education, particularly reading and writing,
Right.
were available only to the elite at one point of time. And as industrial revolution started and people wanted more skilled labor, more educated labor, there was this whole big change, and education started to become mainstream and it was available for everybody. And then and as soon as the liberation of communities happened and people started looking up at education as a necessity, as an essential, like food,
Right.
shelter,
Right.
clothing, and so we have been evolving. It is going from the handful to the many. And over that whole process, there have been a lot of changes. Wherein a few things have been meaningful, but at the same point of time, industrialization and that kind of education also brought a very mainstream look at how we should do things and how we should learn, how what we should aspire to be doing. So I think we are at a very interesting time. Currently, if I speak, education is available to everybody with internet at your fingertips. You can basically learn anywhere from the world, anything that you would like. So we are living in very, very interesting times where the dynamics are going to change more rapidly. Yeah.
Right, correctly said. I mean, yes, earlier it used to be, and as we see data also, I mean, right now when you look at, uh, US and India market, so probably in US there are only 2% of kids go to private schools, and 98% goes to, government school, and right now in India it is 45-55 percentage. So, I mean, now, Surat is, becoming a new education hub, where big brands have come in, and we have been seeing Gajera growing each and every year, where admissions are full, and you have been bringing a lot of innovation, in terms of let it be technology or something in terms of innovation for arts, crafts. So I've been hearing a lot of things. So I mean, how are you able to do this? That you are always on at par and providing best of the facility to the kids.
So, firstly, I would like to say we are learning, and we are constantly learning. Along the way, there are mistakes that we make too, but then it's a part of the learning process.
Right.
Secondly, I think particularly us at Gajera Trust, we have a very good team of principals, of vice principals, of educators, those who want to learn as well. So it is not easy to bring about change or to do anything or to bring new processes, systems, if there is no acceptance towards it. And luckily, I've been blessed to have such a big opportunity and a platform where our educators have been wanting to learn. And I would say that it is us as a community, education community, who have been wanting to go about this change and bring about this process where innovation, creativity are at the heart of our learning. Basically, our education system is more like boxes. If you go to see, be it any board, I'm not talking about any particular board, be it the state board or the central board or ICSE, and I'm not only talking about India, I'm talking about the worldwide. The way things function is more about getting narrower and narrower. So I'm going to jump a little bit into the whole process of getting education. You go to kindergarten, and that could be 2 years somewhere. It could be Montessori, or it could be just a prep school, and it could be 2 to 3 years, depending on where you are, what board you are, what language you're learning, vernacular that is it Gujarati, Marathi. Then it is first grade to K-12, so first to 12th standard is 12 years. I constantly look at this calculation since years now, that when you're 3, probably you get into kindergarten, so that's 3 years, so you're 6, plus another 12, so that's 18. Right. And then when you're 18, you go to bachelor school, and if it is science, it is 4 years. If it is management or arts, it is 3 years. And 21, 22, 23, right. Even if you end up doing your master's, you're around 23, 24, and that's when you actually get into the workforce. Right. And by then, everything that you're learning is getting like this. It's getting narrower. So if you're getting into science, you're only aware about science and you're not aware about other fields. Right. But when you get out into the real world and when you're working, it is not only about your skill as per related to science, but it is also about your human skills, communication skills. It could be also about your management skills to a certain point. It could be about creative skills. So we need to bring education where children can also be followers when they need to. They can also be leaders. They can also have an independent opinion. And even educators, like I don't only look at just empowering students. That's the main criteria, I think. And I strongly believe that our educators strongly need to have this sense of of this change that they are making, because they are the change makers.
Exactly.
They are those who are really shaping the future by guiding and by shaping how children are learning. So there are two aspects to it, and thirdly, it is also parents. Those who need to play a very big role. Right now, when parents look at education, it is more in terms of sending them off to a school or sending them to tuition and maybe a few classes, that's about it. But I think it's also about observing your child, what they like, what they don't like, what their skills are, where they lag, how to support them during those times. So, because they also make a decision when they are growing up about their careers and about their choices. So even parents have an active role. We as the management, those who are working with educators, students, parents, we have this role where particularly we need to create this platform and constantly reinvent it so that we are constantly learning. That's very crucial. So Gajera Trust and other of our institutes where we work, we try to make sure that we are doing this process. Yeah.
As rightly said, I mean, it's all about overall, development of kids, and that is what I think you're doing. So, I mean, I just, uh, there is something that I came to know that you have 16 different clubs under Sunita Makerspace. So, I mean, what is, what are these clubs, and how does it help child to, uh, getting better, or maybe identifying their own hobbies, and making it as a profession. I mean, how does it help?
Yeah. Before I get into the clubs, if I may just share a little bit about where the makerspace idea came in.
Please.
Yeah. So the thing was that, like I said, that education's quite structured and it does not have many opportunities to explore and figure out newer things. Makerspace was one area in the school environment where we wanted to have children to be able to explore freely, make, break, create, to kind of fail, to kind of, you know, struggle in their own thoughts or any idea, work on them without any obstructions, without any barriers, without any limitations. So we came up with this idea where on a regular school day, for 2 hours, they would be able to work on any idea that they would like and any topic that they would want to work in. And that goes on right from kindergarten up till grade 12. And we also have a model in our colleges where we try to support the same concept. And so the idea is that it's not limited to 16 clubs. It was just those names that we gave so that there is a broad category for children to select from. And the beauty about makerspace is that if a child comes up saying that we want XYZ as a new club, we are more than willing to start that off. So basically, these 16 clubs range from arts, science, management to social work, all these categories. And if we don't have a category, we even make one. So I would just give you an example. Like we would have craft club, art club, event management club, music club, dance club. Then there could be science club, math club, innovation club where they want to do a few tinkering, or robotics club. We could also have management clubs where there is a business club where they're working on these different ideas that they have for business and make their own pitches. And then, like, for example, at one point of time, we did not have an astronomy club, and there were a few girls, those who were really interested in it, and we had an educator who was very interested in supporting those minds. So we even started off with the astronomy club. So the idea is that we should be able to provide different kind of areas for children to explore without them being hesitant whether this would really make sense or not. Like if, for example, if children earlier would go to their parents and say that I want to get into event management as a business, and parents would be quite hesitant. School would be quite hesitant as making out or mapping out a career field for them. But when the school kind of accepts these kind of businesses or professions, we bring this platform and we make it easier for children to kind of comprehend it and work on it without any hesitations. So that's the idea, and we want to keep on doing that.
Of course, I mean, I've seen, so much happening at, many of your schools. I've personally visited them. So, but then, also, I mean, bringing all these clubs, I've seen that, you have worked in your own school probably in 2008, 8 to 10, and you were teaching, in your own school, and then you have done internship in a lot of places, a lot of companies, a lot of universities. So, I mean, does it help, has it helped you to probably understand children how they read, and probably go with the approach?
Yeah, totally. So I used to volunteer when I was in my 11th and 12th. We have this orphanage, Vatsalyadam, where
Yes.
we have more than 830 children there, girls, boys from all castes, from all creed, and from all backgrounds, basically. And they have single parents or no parents, and we don't charge a single rupee or fee for them. They stay there, they live, they eat there. We provide them food, we provide them education, provide them skill learning opportunities. So it was back in the time when it was founded freshly. I used to go there over the weekends, and I used to work with the children. Uh, and my father had schools way back in 2000, and so I always had the opportunity to go and see the school on a management level, not just as a student.
Right.
So I think that's where I got to learn a lot. And when I was finishing off my masters in Australia, this is quite personal, but I think a lot of youngsters can resonate with this whole feeling. I had a degree in my hand, or I was about to graduate, and I was very passionate, but I was still trying to figure out where I want to work and what I want to do, and how could I make the most impact, and what would be the most meaningful thing to do. Because my family works in diamonds, and we are into property sector, and we are into several other sectors as well. So I had a little bit of exposure everywhere, and that kind of confused me more like it. And even I think not just because I come from a business family like this, I think everywhere youngsters today have a lot many fields to select from.
Right. Right.
Earlier was not the case, and I was constantly trying to, reflect in terms of what would be the best opportunity. And education started coming to me somehow from maybe all these experiences that I had as a teenager and as a young person back here in India. And I got an opportunity to work with my university or to intern with them. So I was able to see how an international university functions, and what are the processes, systems that they imbibe to make education effective and qualitative. And after that, I got another internship with another university. So those experiences brought to me this different sets of learning that was available internationally. And back in India, we had a very limited mindset, and we had a very limited scope, which was not the case. So there's this whole umbrella that you build in your own mind, but it's not actually uh, the limit. There's vaster limits up there. So I think I felt that I could come back and I could share all these learnings, and maybe bring about some sort of help and change. And with that, maybe we were able to shuffle a few things in what we used to do. So now it is more hands on, now it is more proactive, and yeah, and we need to do it repeatedly. Like I said,
Yes.
we constantly need to learn, unlearn, relearn. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it now or right now. I mean, that is the only two options. Yes, rightly said. So, I mean, and what is your suggestion that, I mean, how you have been, visiting, you have already, visited a lot of places. So, and you've tried, bringing few technologies here in your own school. But then there are a lot of schools, probably in Surat and in India. So, I mean, as a, as owner or principal or director. So, I mean, what should they do in terms of, is it I mean, very important in order to bring, all these clubs or probably something which is experimental learning or something which is professional learning. Like, as you said, someone is interested in, something which is not a mainstream business, and parents may not react, to a situation like that. So, I mean, should school now think about this?
Totally. And I see everywhere around in India in the last 3 4 years, the education space has changed a lot. There are new methods, new technologies, new systems, new methodologies of education.
Right.
Uh, Educators and management are traveling all over the world trying to learn and bring these new uh, new systems and inculcate them in our current education system. So I see there is already a lot of momentum on that. And I would say that we need to do a lot more. We need to
Right.
we need to act a lot more faster. Uh, but I also would say that this is only a handful of schools, those who have that privilege and opportunity
Right.
to work with a certain financially stable set of demographic. They can do that.
Right.
But when you look at the bottom level and when you look at the middle level, that is where things are still lagging behind, and we need to bring about more changes there. But I see also that government is also bringing in new
Yes.
ways in which they are trying to support, like Khelo India, and so sports is becoming also quite popular, which earlier was not thought to be a very lucrative space to grow,
Yes.
to
Yes.
have a profession in. So it could be sports, it could be arts, it could be several things. Uh, all I could say is that we still need to work at a more rapid pace.
Right.
We need to do a lot more faster because, like, I don't know, maybe we would get later on to that conversation about AI and robotics bringing that whole new
Yes. Yes.
or change in the, disruption, basically, in the way that we are living. So if we want to keep up with those kind of disruptions and we want to be at the same level and maybe get a little higher, before the trend, we need to accept changes a lot more faster.
Okay, great. I mean, but then as you said, there are, privileged schools, or probably, someone who is very financially stable, probably they can just spend some money and, get these clubs running or some equipment for children. So, but then what about the schools who are from, tier 2, tier 3 cities where, they are actually, they do not have access to huge funds. Their kids, you have one school which is Vatsalya Dham where, kids, they are orphanage and, you don't really charge them. So as a management, how they can, probably bring in something? Is there any way out there? What do you think?
I would just like to say that most of our schools are not elite schools. We have a couple of them where the fees is quite high, but the rest of our schools cater to a very middle level, low middle level segment. So, and we are still able to bring about these different opportunities for students because we believe that it's with the mindset. I think
Okay.
Resources
It can come.
are at your fingertips. Internet is one of the biggest resource. If you don't have material, you don't have equipment, you can learn how to make your own equipment or build your own on or your own space. You can avail such things. You know, there is one school that I visited recently. It's called Green School Bali. It's in
Achha.
Bali,
Okay.
and they work on a very innovative process. And in their maker space, they collected all the trash from people would, the community would come down there, and they would give their trash. Maybe it could be your digital waste, or it could be your home waste, or whatever, and that would be the resource for them to work on. So I think it's the mindset. It is totally the mindset. Like they say, if you have the will, you have the way. So it could be tier 2, tier 3. I don't think it could be the most remotest of the place. But if there is a mindset to grow and to learn, it's possible.
Great, great. Yes, of course, and I too believe that, this is the time that I think now things are moving so rapid. Access of tools to, this young children is, very important. And I think, management at any level, they should understand. And I'm sure, at one point of time, I think they will accept and try something, what you just said. So you said about, Green School Bali. So you have been visiting a lot of places across the world. So, and you have been seeing, a lot of schools, how they function. So, do you have any experience to share something you just said about digital or, any waste they store and they do? So,
I think when we met, I also shared with you the biodiesel story. So
yeah.
It was one of the most inspiring stories I've come across in an educational space. So I visited the school, and they have this program where every week for 2 hours, children would go down to all the hawkers or street vendors, those who sell deep fried food. So Indonesia and countries like our Asian countries have a lot of deep frying culture. We eat a lot of deep fried food on the streets and different places. So the oil, once you've constantly fried over and over again, becomes very toxic.
Right.
So if you let that oil down into the soil, it kind of contaminates the soil and destroys the nutrition in the soil. If you leave it down in your water systems, it will affect the water and the water systems. So the children came up with this idea that we want to make more sustainable and smarter changes. They would, what should we do? And they came up with this idea. They would go and collect all the oil from the street hawkers every week. And, they would collect it, they would process it and make it into biodiesel. So with which they would run their own biobus that would go and collect all this oil. So I think that was the power of an idea, and that was something that is so mind blowing when even children can come up with these ideas that not only save for the environment, but they bring in scientific learning. So if you can manage your own, if you can refine the oil into biodiesel, it's a lot of learning on science. It's also communicating the vendors on the street, and that is a lot of communication skills that you're learning. So I think that was a very inclusive way of learning and being. In the future, that learning would help them make one of the most effective decisions in their professions, in their businesses, in their area of work.
Yes, I mean, what you just said, probably, I mean, in India, it can be implemented because everywhere we see, I mean, we eat food which is, deep fried and I mean, so I hope, someone who's listening to you and probably, maybe try something here. Now, you also have, a dedicated space. I mean, you already said about robotics, coding, AI, IoT, etc. So, which is you have a dedicated space for technology learning. So, I mean, can you tell me anything which has have help your your children to learn something, and I've seen you that you have more focused about a big change on society, on on a community. So anything, any specific incident or any experiment which got successful in your innovation lab which you want to share?
So we do this Sustainable Makers Day event every year where all the students, those who are learning in the clubs, they get a platform to showcase all the different projects or different things that they have worked on. And of course, it ranges from arts to science, management to social work. So I think that is one of the most successful spaces, that results that we have gotten out of this space, because that is the time when we are able to see the depth of learning that children go through in the maker space. And it can range from creating a model where it could be a sensor based light. So in one of our schools, children were thinking that we have a basement where we park the cycles and the bikes and all the vehicles in the school, and there's a light constantly burning there.
Yes.
There's a light going on there constantly. So it consumes a lot of electricity, and children thought that we should do something to save the electricity, and they created this sensor-based model, and they implemented it in the basement, so that became more energy efficient.
Right.
So I think right from water management to energy management, and how you can bring about making an app. So there were a few bunch of students, those who wanted to make apps regarding business that they thought of. So I think those opportunities are what we are looking at for students at that area. And Makerspace is to bring about those ways of doing it.
Right.
If I have an idea, but how do I work on it? that is more important, because ideas come to our head probably every day, and they can range from all different things. So I think the success about Makerspace, I would say, is not one particular project,
Right.
but the whole mindset that we
Yes.
can make that happen. I think that is what we consider as success. Yeah.
Superb. So, and I mean, again, what is your thoughts on, I mean, inclusion of such lab for, schools who would be listening to this video, and probably when we make it live to other platforms. So there are more many, I mean, they would listen to this. So what is your message that, I mean, is it the right time to, invest in probably something which is called as technological lab, or where, kids can come and do something in terms of robotics, coding, drones, 3D printing, because we are seeing 3D printers have helped in making face shields in COVID time. So I mean, what is your suggestion for I mean, the schools and owners and directors?
So when it comes to 3D printing or robotics or coding or any other digital space of learning or platform for learning, I have this very strong belief that disruption has already happened in the developed part of the world, where AI like Alexa or Siri are constantly helping us do several things. If I go back to a little bit of history of disruption, disruption used to happen like with the invention of wheel, and with the invention of fire, there was a very big time frame in it. And then as people started learning and started having these resources, disruption started having shorter and shorter paces. So there was a dot-com boom. There was an internet that was a disruption in the 1990s.
Yes.
And then after that, there was cell phones that were a disruption. And then after that, in 2008, there was smartphones. That was a disruption. So our smartphone, like the first Apple phone came in 2008, I believe.
Yes.
Smartphone which Steve Jobs launched. And we are currently in 2020. So 12 years down the line, this thing basically has all my personal, my social, my business work, everything on it. My music, my calendar. So this one disruption changed the way human beings interacted, be it Facebook and those kind of technologies that got created as a smartphone being a platform for them, or Gmail and G Suite and all different kind of business apps that were developed. Banks use digital apps now, and you can do your banking through your cell phone now. So even your calendars, people used to have several different things, and now it is all compressed into one thing. So that was a very major disruption. And the next disruption that we are looking at is at robotics, at AI, where the jobs that were done by human beings earlier, that were repetitive in nature, that did not involve a lot of thinking, a lot of mind activities, would get replaced by the robots. Like, for example, I would tell you, like waiters in a restaurant, or servers, more like that in a restaurant, in a place, was more about bringing or serving you at your table. Now now restaurants have been kind of experimenting with these robots everywhere. And in the near future, there could be a whole set of jobs that is to do with servers that will get completely changed with robots.
Right.
In the same way, if you go to an airport, now there are e-kiosks where they issue you your boarding pass. So human interaction in several areas of work. It could be at the airport, railway station, bank, shop, or any place. Is decreasing, and it is getting replaced with technology.
Right.
So one of the biggest questions that educators all over the world are working with is that if the jobs are getting replaced with robots in the future, those who would be smart with AI, those who would be smart with dynamic algorithms, what are the human beings going to do? What professions, what kind of roles human beings are going to play? And from what I have been learning from different people is that it's to do with creative thinking. It is to do with smart thinking. It is to do with a lot more arts that is going to be the future, and it's still getting debated on. This topic is, constantly conversation stirrer everywhere. So, coming back to why it is essential, I think all these reasons that I gave
Right.
Makes it all the more important for children to be aware of these technologies,
Yes,
about
yes.
how it works. So, all the schools and even the government is supporting
Right.
Atal Tinkering Labs and
Yes,
coding and
yes.
robotics to a very big level, because this will change things and this will disrupt the way we are living.
Right.
And that's why we need to be not scared of it. We need to be not doubtful, but more imbibing the whole change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's even very good to hear, because we are into similar space, and you said something which is positive. So now, coming back to like the current situation. So I mean, COVID have probably halt our entire operations. I mean, schools are not working. In fact, businesses have been affected. So I mean, what are the steps? I mean, have you taken any steps so that kids they don't lose much on their studies? So I mean, what are you doing? Because you have huge number, I think 50,000 students or so. I mean, they study in your school.
Yeah, in our trust, basically. So
Yes.
we work in rural and urban areas. We have state board schools, Gujarati medium, English medium,
Yes.
school board schools, and even a Cambridge board. Uh, so I think online learning is the norm of the hour, and digital learning is what everyone is working with.
Right.
And luckily, again, like I said, we have very active and very proactive set of educators in our school. So although we were working with technology earlier, and this whole pandemic brought us to do it all the more, our educators were able to learn these different apps. It could be Google Meet, Hangouts, G Suite applications,
Right.
and even our own application. So we started putting down assignments, started online classes, videos. Yeah, so that's what we have been doing. Yeah.
Superb. I mean, this is the right time to introduce technological tools to teachers. I mean, they might, they have never thought that, they would come online and teach the kids. But then now they are teaching, I mean, online, and using all this tool. It is great. But then what do you think? I mean, what is, its effectiveness? I mean, is it really helping kids? I mean, do you think it can become mainstream once, I mean, we have a better situation?
I think digital learning was always in a it was around us before even this situation with pandemic. It was really gaining momentum in terms of becoming another source to teach. So it was around there. The pandemic forced us to kind of use it at a very strong pace. So, but I think it can never replace an education sector surrounding environment. So they say that it takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes a whole set of resources, people, environments to really educate a child. And one of the most important environment for a child is a school where they talk to their peers, where they meet children of their age, of similar age, engage with them, talk with them. Teachers, for example, they observe the child, they kind of work at understand the child, guide them, support them. So that can digital technologies can surely help you in different ways that maybe a typical classroom environment cannot. But at the same way, it cannot replace what a school gives to a student. So I think we need to look at digital uh, learning as a complementary system to the current education system, number one. Number two, in these times, I think we need to really question the effectivity of digital learning, because it is more passive. I open up a screen and I am working with that. And of course, human beings are we're prone to distraction. So if I'm also learning and also watching this YouTube video and I'm also reading this article or I'm also chatting with my friend, that is also a big question that arises when it comes to concentration and focus on the topic at hand. Also, the kind of human, engagement that happens. Digital space cannot really support that as of now. Maybe in the future there is AI and these different things that come up and they're able to do that. But so far, as of now, I think it cannot be replaced. And so one of my teachers, we had a conversation with our teachers. One of the teachers mentioned that we are not able to observe the students that well. We are not able to see how they are feeling when we are teaching them a topic. One of the teachers said that online we are not able to see how the child is perceiving that topic, whereas in a school environment their focus is on us and we are there physically present. So I think that was also another thought, but whatever we have during these times, I think digital learning is ensuring that children are engaged.
Right.
They're doing something productive with
Right.
the help of the school or with the parents or with their friends and peers, because this is something that I was thinking about. I think we're really looking at doctors and other people in the community, those who are protecting us.
Right. Right.
But we also should admire and appreciate our students, because during these times they are in the houses. Children are not used to stay indoors.
Yes.
They want to have meet their friends. They want to do things outdoor. They want to constantly keep on moving around, and they have a lot of wishes. I'm sure your daughter wants, when
Yes,
you come home,
completely.
she wants to go out on a ride or something like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
So I think children are doing a great job currently with this pandemic, because they're constrained in the homes, and emotionally, on a psychological level, I'm sure this would be affecting them a lot, and we would get to see those kind of things in the future probably. And I hope it's not as bad though. Yeah, but we would also, like, if you go to see on a practical side, this isolation will also increase emotional issues for adults and for children. And I hope digital learning keeps them engaged so that these things not prevail as much. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's all about getting them engaged, as you rightly said. I mean, they really want to go out, and because this is summer, and usually, I mean, over the years, it is a vacation time. So for them, I mean, they
Yeah.
go. So they have probably now, I think, once, but then I don't know. I mean, how they would react. But then they have no other option to stay at home. I mean, the only thing they can do is stay keeps. I mean, be safe and stay at home. So, but then, as you said, these tools, I mean, online learning, so it can only help, but it cannot replace the conventional way of teaching, because teachers are more aligned with emotional engagement. I mean, they want to see how they are reacting to what they are teaching. So, but then I mean. For I mean, what would you see for schools who are probably from I mean tier 2, tier 3, I mean all those schools where I don't know, I mean if teachers and I mean school management, I mean they are actually really, they are cope up to take things like this, maybe Google Hangout or Google Classroom, something like that. So what do you suggest?
So I think, again, very interesting question. And I think learning from even managing the house. Like, we are in an urban context, we have all the technology and we are able to do learning online, and that's
Right.
keeping us occupied. But places where there is no internet, where there is no facility to learn, maybe a smartphone can help, more like it. And if you even don't have access to that, I think human beings can learn a lot from even doing the household chores. Like, if you are working in a house, and you can learn cooking and you can learn cleaning and how to manage. Like, your mothers can be a very, very big teacher to you. because it's so much of learning. Even to manage a house, there's a lot of work. How to clean things, but how to clean things
Yeah, sure. I
efficiently,
think
how to
everyone
cook,
would agree.
how to cook well. I think gardening, for example, if you have access to that in the villages, children can learn from it because there are more open spaces there. So even agriculture can be a form of education. So if we look for it, learning anywhere, I'm sure we can manage and find that.
Superb. And I mean, just your own experience. I mean, because you might have, I mean, asked your teachers to probably, prepare videos and prepare lectures for your kids. So, but then they may not be able to do, editing or shooting or whatnot. So, I mean, what were the key challenges that you have faced personally? I mean, handling all your teachers, and I mean, how you were able to do that?
We were quite used to making videos earlier.
Acha.
We were, yeah, we have been active over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of using technology, in terms of, so we constantly had this conversation with our management, that is all our school leaders, principals, and vice principals, and even our educators at times, that if we are able to record one video and we are able to put down a lot of learning in that, and if that video can be shared not only with our students but other students from other areas, I think that could be a lot more impact. So over the years we have been working on video recording and digital technology, so it was not a very big thing. It was not a shock, like I would put it, but I think, like I said, we have a very proactive set of educators, and our principals were able to guide them. So those who were not even recording also, got a chance to start learning it this time, and they were able to do it. So yeah, kudos to our team. Yeah.
Yeah, rightly said. I mean, yeah, but again, this has provided a lot of opportunity for teachers. I mean, they can learn new things, getting online. I mean, it would definitely help them. And lastly, I have I just wanted to talk about how Gajera Trust have contributed during the COVID time. I'm sure there is a lot done already, but then anything you wish to tell us that as a trust, what has been managed.
As a trust, Gajera Trust was founded uh, in the memory of my grandmother. My father and his brothers wanted to give back to the society. So I'll get a little bit into the history if we have time. Do we have time?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
So my father was from a town called Amreli. It's in Saurashtra. And he, at the age of 12 or 13, came down to Surat and started working as diamond craftsman. And he and his brother were able to take a loan of only 10,000 rupees from my grandfather. And they set up their first diamond manufacturing unit. And from that, they grew and, they started doing well in diamonds. Then they also expanded into property. And at one point of time, when we were financially stable or good, they wanted, because that's the whole need, humans want to give back to the community.
Right.
So they want to give back to the community, but not in the form of temples and things, but more in the form of things that could last. And they set up Gajera Trust with three main objectives of education, healthcare, and community service. So in education, we have 17 plus schools now,
Right.
18 schools now, and we have more than 50,000 children that we work with. We have 3 colleges at the moment. We also have a medical college that we started off last year. We manage a hospital in Amreli, the civil hospital.
Super.
We have been also supporting a lot of other hospitals. We have an orphanage where we support people from underprivileged areas. It's a home for orphans. And so we work in all these different areas. During COVID-19, we were able to help with food packets.
Right.
Lakshmi Diamond and Gajera Trust made a lot of food packets, more than 1 lakh plus, and we distributed that in Surat, in
Super.
Amreli, our hometown. In the hospitals, we were helping with quarantine facility for COVID-19 patients, and other such roles and jobs that we have been doing. So yeah, that's around it. Yeah.
Super. When any message to our young, young kids who might be watching, or probably they would watch this once we make it live to other platforms as well. So any message to kids and teachers?
For children, I would like to say that you're already keeping strong and doing well. So keep doing that and enjoy and learn and stay happy. And for educators, I would like to say that all the educators, I think there are 100 million plus educators all over the world, those who are taking up online teaching and educating from their homes, working. So I would like to say that we are very grateful to you for all your services and your support to the community. You're shaping the future, and keep strong and take care. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, this was really a great session I had. Now I'll just take maybe a couple of questions we have in the chat. So first we have is, how do you see people adapting experimental learning in the near future with no lockdown, and how can it benefit more than the conventional methods? So this is
So
one of the
I think
questions from audience.
lockdown, yeah, the pandemic and the lockdown really brought us to this point of self-sustainability. So self-sustainability would be the need of the hour, and people would work a lot on self-sustainable initiatives, on environmental initiatives, on things that would really be healthcare friendly, that would be able to support that. So all the energy, all the focus, even in schools, would get diverted to this whole two three things that I segments that I mentioned. And secondly, I think this this experimental learning phase would grow, because I
Right.
think this was a time, like a reflection that we got, that if we don't do these things and these learnings, we would face a lot of issues. So yeah, I think for example, growing your own food, managing your own water. Right now, people need to go out and get their own food, but there are so many herbs and so many simple vegetables that people can grow in their balconies in their homes. So
Yes.
simple things like that would get inculcated in the curriculum, and they should be. I strongly recommend that.
Okay. Superb. Superb. Okay, so that is all. I think we have a couple of, but then you have already covered, one of the questions. So yeah, I believe that is it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us, on the second episode. And you have been always, sporting and, very active on accepting, something new we come with. So thank you so much again for your time. And I hope that, all we will take a lot of information from this broadcast once we make it live for, other people as well. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ritesh. It was a pleasure talking.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Bye bye.
Bye.